Hi, my name's Emily Compton and I am a mixed media artist, so I use a variety of different materials. These include embroidery printing, so I use a digital embroidery machine, lino printing, drawing digitally on Illustrator and Procreate, and collages as well. What is art to me? Well, it's a bit of a difficult question really to answer that, because art to me is many different things. I think mainly it's kind of finding the beauty within kind of like the darkest times in your life. So finding like different colours, experimenting using colours, particularly when I feel sad or upset, I do art. My practice is mainly about working with those who are most vulnerable in society. So I've been mainly doing work about prisons, especially women in prison, the past year or so. I just find it really interesting and fascinating, especially how art therapy helps inmates kind of change their identity and the way that they put their emotions into the work. I believe as well about challenging sort of the norms, as not many people knew about art therapy in prisons. Art therapy for inmates really does benefit them, as it kind of gives them a sense of identity, and a lot of women have said kind of when they do art therapy, it reminds them of when they used to do drawing with children, so again kind of bringing that meaning of art and the emotions together again. My work isn't so literal, you kind of have to think about it, especially sort of having meaning behind my work, vulnerability, art therapy, rehabilitation as well, kind of looking at all of them in one, especially within the prison setting, is what I'm really interested in. My past works, I decided to do a rehabilitation centre, which was a new world for prisoners, which was taken from the influence of the Norway prisons, Holden and Bastøy prison, where they mainly focused on rehabilitation for the inmates. So I decided to create a new space, which was a world for the prisoners to go to. So it's an island, very condensed, like you couldn't really get to it unless you was a prisoner or a guard there. You would have a grocery shop there, a sports centre there, very much kind of the chance to rehabilitate themselves. They're very normal, like kind of giving them the chance also to get back used to potentially going into society, as well as this can be very much a shock to them when they come out of prison. So kind of experimenting with that idea of they're still in prison but they're having the chance to rehabilitate. From this, I then decided to create an art therapy room within this world, and to further this art therapy I decided to create a lesson plan, which basically tells you like the objectives of an art therapy lesson, very much looking into sort of the way in which an art therapy lesson would work. To further this, I then decided to create incarceration collages, where I used humour, with the idea of being stuck in a fishbowl, and connotate it to the idea of being stuck within the justice system. And I feel like this was a very much a different approach to the word prisons and the work, especially around prisons, as it's very much a serious subject and raw subject to talk about. So I kind of want to experiment with using humour towards this subject. So this year particularly, I've decided to focus more on women, and these are the most vulnerable within society. They very much come from abusive backgrounds or very much sort of poverty backgrounds as well. So I've been looking into that particularly, especially sort of with the use of circles, again healing circles, and decided to create the work so far, Healing Circles for Incarcerated Women. And this is basically looking at what women lose, particularly when going into prison, such as their children, their homes, their family, their jobs. They're very much, again, not helped with going into prison and going out of prison, and reading some of the stories, particularly with childbirth and children, and sort of being that family orientated, has very much shocked me in the way that some women still get treated in this day and age. Again, with looking at my influences and kind of the way that women are particularly treated within this age. My influence for the past year's work has been Marking Time by Nicole Fleetwood. This was a book created and written by Nicole, and she had a family member who was in prison, and very much they sent their artworks home, and she very much done what everybody had done. You just look at it and put it in the side drawer, or just kind of left it around, didn't really think much of it. But she decided to start collecting these and looking more at sort of the work that had been created within prisons, and decided to create a book and the stories about the inmates, and some of them had been inmates that are still in prison, have come out of prison, and looking into sort of the way in which they used art when they were angry or upset or even happy. Particularly liked Tamika Cole's Locked in a Dark Calm work, as this very much sort of resonated with the work that I was doing. She got told something by a guard which she didn't like, and rather than taking her anger out on the guard, she decided to create this artwork which is called Locked in a Dark Calm. And this very much again sort of focuses on sort of how the inmates are treated, particularly women within prison, as we're seen as quite passive and not aggressive. So this really kind of stuck out to me, particularly throughout this year's work as well. I've been looking at working within circles and found an artist called Hiromi Tango who works within healing circles. She's done a variety of different ones, and particularly the ones that stuck out for me was empathy and dance, as these have sort of the connotation meanings of containment, confinement, and different emotions of stress. Her work particularly stood out for me, as well as she uses a variety of different colours which I would like to include within my final year work.